financial stuff is
Yeah.
completely different, although related, meaning I've worked with entrepreneurs now for many, many years, and they
Hmm.
almost all have one thing in common, and that is a lack of financial acumen. So when we
Oh,
get to the
yeah.
money part,
Yeah.
I mean, I have had people drop out. I have had people cry. I have had people, I mean, it's real out there, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
no one likes to talk about money, and they have very little confidence in their ability to manage money.
This is Girl Take Note, a podcast for women who are looking to turn their dreams into reality. Hey, Luana, welcome to the Girl Take Note. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Shaunie?
I am good. I'm good. Glad we get to sit down and have this conversation around real estate, your business. But before we jump into it, I want you to kind of tell us, that is, about your journey from finance and procurement to real estate and entrepreneurship, and what kind of inspired that switch for you.
Well, actually, I'm not in real estate, but I am a business consultant. So I do help
Okay.
a lot of entrepreneurs in real estate.
Okay.
And so I worked for Target Corporation for almost 20 years, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
internal consulting, business architecture, business strategy, analysis, all that great stuff.
Okay.
And about halfway to three quarters of the way through that time, I decided that I wanted to do more work kind of directly in community. And so I started a company called Black Twin Cities that helped entrepreneurs get visibility in Minnesota. And I learned a lot about
Awesome.
the plight of small businesses, and
Yeah.
eventually ended up leaving Target, starting my own consulting and working with other organizations in the Twin Cities consulting and doing that work. So that's how I got here. How
Mhm.
I got to financial stuff is
Yeah.
completely different, although related, meaning I've worked with entrepreneurs now for many, many years, and they
Hmm.
almost all have one thing in common, and that is a lack of financial acumen. So when we
Oh,
get to the
yeah.
money part,
Yeah.
I mean, I have had people drop out. I have had people cry. I have had people, I mean, it's real out there, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
no one likes to talk about money, and they have very little confidence in their ability to manage money. And
Hmm.
so as I started to kind of read the research and understand why that was, some of the root cause is actually based in their personal financial management.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
which makes sense when you say it out loud, but no one's really talking about the connection between your personal finances and your business finances.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got here. So talking to entrepreneurs about how to use the management of their personal finances to have stronger businesses.
And I think that that's important, because you're right. The financial part is that, so we as entrepreneurs, we're just like, I feel like we're all creative people. We don't necessarily think about the financial piece of it. The financial piece for us is just getting sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're just
Yep.
getting sales. That's all we're concerned with. But we're
Mm-hmm.
not thinking about, okay, so how do we grow this money? How do we now,
Mm-hmm.
once we get it, what do we do with it? And so
Yep.
I think it's important to have that type of coach out there, or that type of service out there, that allows us opportunity to really get into that part, because we do kind of get scared when it comes to the financial piece of it, when it comes to like the taxes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even as when I think about content creators and I see people making all this money, you're like, I see you making all this money, but do you have to pay taxes on that? Like, I don't think people
Yeah.
think about
No,
that piece of it when they're actually in the
no.
midst of it.
And let me tell you, the government is coming for their money. So with this beneficial ownership thing, number one,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
that everyone, if you haven't done it already, you've got to get it done by January 2025. Enter your beneficial ownership. But also, they are starting to implement any way you get paid. If you're not getting paid via cash or check, they
Hmm.
will track your money down and they will ask you to pay taxes on it. So if you're getting paid Cash App, Venmo, all that stuff, they're coming for that money,
Oh
period.
my God.
They're
And
coming.
I don't think people know. I
No,
really
they
don't think
don't.
they know.
They don't. Mm-mm.
So when someone come to you, and I'm pretty sure they don't really know, like I said, about what to do, right, with their
Mm-hmm.
in the financial space, what type of strategies do you tell them to start with first to get more in a business financial mindset?
Mindset is it. I mean, because what we do here in this entrepreneurial ecosystem is we leapfrog people from not having any financial background, personal or otherwise, and then we give them, $250,000 of a loan and say, "Good luck to you. You start your business," and we're expecting success. Like, how does that even happen? It doesn't. So, there's the budgeting and there's the technical pieces of it, right? The actual addition, subtraction, and all that stuff.
Hmm.
But it has to start with mindset, because what a lot of people don't realize is the way we spend and save money is all based in here. And that is a function of our childhood, how we grew up, and our experiences with money. If
Yeah.
we don't address those things, I can give you the best spreadsheet in the world and it's not going to work for you because you're
Yeah.
going to have the blocks, right? So
Yep.
that's where it all starts.
Yeah. And it's so funny. We having this, and it's so funny how the mindset is everything. I
Yes,
was
it's
just talking to
everything.
someone yesterday about he's a happiness coach because I feel like the world need more happiness. We all
Right.
do.
Yeah.
Right. And the same thing with him is like it starts with our mindset. And I'm like, our mindset is our mind is such a powerful tool,
Yeah.
but it's one of those tools that is like the hardest thing to change. So what do you find is some of the biggest challenges that some of your clients will face when it comes to becoming more financial literacy and trying to build wealth around that?
Yeah, so I'm going to actually address a couple of things. So first is the self-confidence
Yeah.
in their ability to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. And that's what
Yeah.
I keep telling people. That's what this is. Because we're not doing algebra here, right? I mean, this is logic and it's addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. If you can
Yeah.
do that, but I do believe that along the way, a lot of us were told that we couldn't, even when
Yeah.
we could. That was my daughter's experience. She went from being amazing at math to at some point within the course of one school year, all of a sudden not believing that she could do it. I'm like, well, who
Mhm.
told you that? She never told me who told her that. But
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't happen that way. Also recognizing the stories that we tell ourselves about money and
Yeah.
our triggers around money. Why do you overspend? Why do you hoard money? Why do you do the things that you do? Just understanding those.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the things that I am really working towards, you'll see on the Next Femme website, we don't really talk about financial literacy. I think I may have mentioned it a couple of times. We talk
Mm.
about acumen, which is a little bit different.
Yeah.
And so when literacy is just knowledge.
Yeah.
And the example that I like to use is I am a big woman. I mean, we can't get around that. But I'm very literate in weight loss, meaning I could probably write a book on how to lose weight. And it's the truth, most of us could.
Yeah.
But there's something here that hasn't clicked yet. I don't have the acumen. So I have not yet been presented with the tools and I have not built the mindset, the intersection of those things that
Mhm.
allows me to maintain the weight that I want to maintain. And
Yeah.
finances are no different, right? So we could talk about literacy, but again, I could give you all the definitions, all of that stuff in the world, but if you don't have the right tools and the right mindset, which is the ability to implement, then it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. And it is so funny when it comes to our personal, and I feel like this myself. I feel like I'm gonna share with you, like I was laid off a year ago.
Okay.
And when I got laid off, I realized I was not financially prepared.
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't. And so,
Yep.
and I didn't realize it until it happened because, you're working every day. You think you're trying to save what you can. And I feel like what happened was that I didn't put saving and making sure I'm financially solid foundation down.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
didn't put that as a priority. Do you find that most people go through life and I'm not saying most, I know a lot of people out there put their finances first, but I find a lot of us really don't think about something happening until it happens
For sure.
for that thing to happen. Like my mother was always that person. Make sure you got 6 months worth of bills saved in their account. Make sure
Mm-hmm.
if you get $1, save 50 cents. She's
Mm-hmm.
always been that kind of person, always told me to do that. I just didn't
Yeah.
listen. I didn't
Yeah. No,
listen.
most people don't. Most people don't. And you were lucky enough to have a mom that talked to you about that. The truth
Yeah.
is that most of us don't. Like most of our families, like the conversation of money, like no one ever talks about it.
Yeah.
And when it comes to women and young girls, we talk to them even less about money. And so yeah, so you had a mom that was really doing it, but most of us didn't. And so your question is absolutely valid. Most people don't prepare. They're looking at their account and they say, I have enough for right now. I have enough to get
Yes.
me through this date. I have enough for right this second. But when you switch that to a more strategic mindset around money and you decouple the emotion from the dollars, it's a
Yeah.
whole different world, right? But yeah, so most people are living literally paycheck to paycheck, if
Yeah.
not with less than a month's worth of expenses in the bank.
Yeah. And I think social media has a lot to play with that too. You know, we look at social media as this thing of a lot of people do this thing that, you know, you see other people's lives and you see what they're getting. You see them getting all the expensive bags and shoes. And, you know, you think you got to have that too. So you'll go blow that 10,000 on that bag and do this and that. So do you see that social media kind of like
It's
influences?
terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's so much FOMO, and because
Yes.
what we have today is insight into people's lives that we didn't used to have, right?
Yeah.
All we knew
Yep.
was what we did and what our neighbors did, and we were all living
Yep.
the same way, right? You're right. And so, or we saw what was on television. I mean, that was the extent of our kind of worldview. And
Yeah.
now we've got this different medium that's bringing us into other people's lives. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that when you're looking at somebody's their camera is like this. You don't see what's over here. You don't see what's like. You don't see my laundry is right here. Right? You know what I mean? It's like, so our view of their lives is so narrow, and it's often not real. Right? People are showing you the best version, the best everything, and even if they're showing you all the expensive stuff, there's a really great chance in today's world they didn't pay for it.
Yeah.
They were gifted it, or they borrowed it, right? Or they rented it, or whatever. And so there's but we're taking it all as on face value. And then you've got the misinformation with how you should be spending your money and all of these kind of new investment ideas and things that have gotten a lot of people in trouble. People that are using some new fintech apps as their checking accounts instead of going to an actual bank.
Yeah.
And then when those companies go under, they're screwed, right? And so, it's just it is a different world. It really is. Yeah.
You know, as an entrepreneur, like when they come to you and let's say they come, this is what I'm trying to say. So as an entrepreneur, I say on my show that we take a leap into entrepreneurship. So some of our leaps are intentional and some of our leaps are unintentional. So for those, because it's a job loss, right? Which is something that I said to myself, okay, well, just try to see if you can just do this thing full time, right? Either some people actually say, you know what, I'm going to prepare for it. When it comes to entrepreneurs going into this world and this journey, because this is a journey and it's ups and downs and there's no guaranteed paycheck there. What would be the best advice you would give them in terms of like preparing themselves financially to go into this journey of entrepreneurship?
Yep. For non-entrepreneurs, I would recommend it's about the first thing you need to do is make sure you've got 3 to 6 months of savings. For entrepreneurs, I think that's more, right?
Yeah.
So when I made the leap, I had a year's worth of savings. Turns out that I didn't need it, but to your point, there's a misconception that once you decide you're going to start a business, it's going to take off right away.
Yeah.
And the truth is, it can take on average between 3 and 5 years for a business to be profitable. And so I think that is the first thing you have to prepare for, a long runway with potentially no or very little revenue. I think you also have to prepare yourself to what you just said, the fact that it's ups and downs. Most of us spent the majority of our lives working for other people. And that paycheck came every 2 weeks or every month or whatever. And it was the same no matter what you did.
Yeah.
If you were out sick, a couple of days, the paycheck was still the same, right? And so most of us lived most of our lives that way. And then going into entrepreneurship from that is a shock, right? That you could be making way more some months than you ever made and making nothing, depending on the industry, in other months. So just being prepared for those ups and downs and knowing that it may not the downs don't always last and the ups don't always last either.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Yeah. And that's good advice, because I wish I was a lot more prepared for this journey. Because even when you're on this journey, you doubt yourself. You're like, you know what? I think I need to go get a job, because, you get so used to that. Like you said, you get so used to that check being there and that security. But what the layoff showed me is that, okay, a job is not really security, because it can be taken from you at any moment. So you really do need to prepare yourself for whatever may come, because you really don't know what will come. Talking about
what else I think people need to remember, I'm sorry, is that you are literally never stuck. We have got to start taking our agency back.
Yeah.
You are never stuck in a decision that you made. You can always make a different decision. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that you're a failure or you're a success. It's a different decision. It's just a different decision. If you decide tomorrow that entrepreneurship is not for you, that's because you tried it, and that's a different decision. You are not stuck in the struggle.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you said that, because that needs to be said.
You are not stuck in the struggle. You
You're
have the
not.
agency to make a difference. Yeah, you run your own life.
Yeah. So when you decided to take your leap into
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurship, was it scary for you? Did you feel
Girl,
like, oh, okay, I'm about to do this thing now? God, guide me
I
through this.
remember calling my sister, and I had a laundry list of all the things I just knew were going to happen to me. I was going to be homeless, living out of my car. I wasn't going to be able to pay for my daughter's college. Like I had a long, long list of these things that
Yeah.
were sure they were possibilities, but the probability was not what I had made it out to be in my mind.
Yeah.
I literally said, I'm going to be homeless living in my car. I literally told her that. And she was like, what are you talking about? She goes, I have a house. Mom and dad have a house. Like, she goes, what do you mean?
You're
She goes,
never
what
gonna
are
be
you talking?
homeless.
No, it's never. And so what that taught me was the value of my support system and my network.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Knowing that I did have, if for some reason I decided to take this huge risk and I ran out of all my money, but yet there was still some light at the end of the road, right? That I had family that would say, you know what? Come on, you have the guest room while you get your business up and running and you could do this. That never ended up happening, of course, because again, probability versus possibility. But I
Yeah.
had a laundry list of the craziest stuff. I was going to get sick, be in the hospital, wouldn't be able to pay my hospital bills. I had a long list of just the craziest stuff
Yeah.
that was going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a
Mm-hmm.
nervous thing to do because you're not really sure how it's going to turn out, you
Yep.
know?
Yeah.
And I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs who felt that same way. There's like, you know what? I just did it scared anyway.
Yes,
Like
you have
I
to.
didn't know. Yeah, you still have to push through it and you have to do it scared. But the
Mm-hmm.
better you can prepare yourself, I think really works well if we
Yeah,
can get on some kind
science,
of ground.
absolutely. The studies and science show that planning, writing business plans, doing the research, understanding who your customer is, what problems you're solving, not creating services and products that just we want to buy.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically.
But right. And studies and science show us that when you plan, you have better outcomes. Businesses that plan, whether it's at the startup phase or regularly, they grow faster, they grow more, they're around for longer. So absolutely doing that preparation, it's great to leap and make the jump, because if you don't, you're never going to do it. You have to go scared, but
Yeah.
go smart and scared, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Right.
you can, yes, please do. Go smart and scared.
Exactly. Yeah.
Most people want to get into entrepreneurship, I feel like, have this very much so clouded vision of what it is because like I said, with social media, they say people just talking all about the money. Do you, when you come with clients, do you run into that mindset of like, they just think, like you said, I'm just going to lie. I feel like if you build it, they will come. That's how most people feel. And so they have this misconception of what it is. They don't really see the struggle that these people went through. We just see the end result, right?
So first of all, we may not even be seeing the end result, because the first thing I tell entrepreneurs. So first of all, I remember being I was teaching this program, and we were probably like halfway through the 9-month program. And one of the entrepreneurs said, she goes, this is not at all what I see on Instagram. I was like, girl, what? No, you're right. It's not. What are you
And
talking about?
good. It
This
shouldn't be.
this was a grown woman. I was like, okay, but all of that said, one of the things that I tell people is that you cannot believe what you see, because I cannot tell you how many entrepreneurs I've worked with that you see them online and they've got this award and this thing and this
Mm-hmm.
whatever, and they're here and then because now I'm working with them, one of the first things I say is, send me your numbers. I crack open the numbers, and the story that's on the numbers is not what I'm seeing online. That is happening. That happens more often than not. You would
Yeah.
be shocked. So we're not even seeing the end result. We're seeing a fake result, because it's
Yeah.
it's a fake it till you make it mentality. And I
Yeah.
always tell people, do not partner, do not believe anything that you see until you see that profit and loss statement, until
Mm.
you see that cash flow statement. Don't believe anything that they're saying. So
Yeah, I like that because it's a lot of posters out there who are saying they're this. You can make this, and like you said, it's so many things that you can get caught up in as a not even just as a consumer to invest in certain things, right? To invest your money over here, over there. Real estate has always been one of those proven things most people say
yes.
that you can always invest in, you can always build a portfolio there, and you can grow in. Is there what advice do you give certain entrepreneurs when they come in terms of like how to grow the money that they do have?
Yeah. Yeah. I think when you deal in information, that's something that will never go away. It will never get old. It will never be something that you can't sell. And because it's your information, it's your knowledge,
Yeah.
it's always going to have some type of value to you. And then the question that you have to ask yourself is, how do I package that information? So I have to know what I know, and I have to know that someone else out there wants it. And then I have to get the right delivery system to them. But even if you're selling physical items, there's always an information, like, slice or revenue stream that you can add to that business. Even if you're selling, I don't know, canned goods or whatever, you can
Yeah.
always add. There's knowledge that you know because of what you sell that's going to be useful, helpful, or entertaining to somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the easiest, quickest, cheapest route to add revenue streams to your business.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. Most entrepreneurs, I think, feel that, trying to grow and scale is like the main thing that we want to do, right? A lot of us don't get there, I feel like.
Yeah, no, most people don't. Most women
And
don't.
yeah, most women don't. And that's what I mean. So, how do you advise clients on how to scale their business when they come? Do you give them advice on how to scale? Maybe financially, this is where you need to be in order to grow your business. What advice can you give them?
So one of the things I try to do is level set expectations. So we
Yeah.
will pull industry reports and we'll say, what is the average business in this industry making? So for example, a few years ago, I pulled an industry report with someone who wanted to start a food truck. And when we did the calculation with total industry revenue, total number of players, did the division, the average food truck at that time was making $60,000 a year.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just start there. And let's start asking questions there. So if your
Yeah.
revenue is 60 grand, and after all is said and done, after you've spent all your money on food and gas and repairs and all that, is this
Yeah.
even an industry? So let's just start with the expectation of what's actually real versus what we think is going to be, because your food truck's going to be the next slutty vegan.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
not, right? Right. So let's just start with reality. But on the flip side of that, we can also talk about the reality of how fast is an industry growing,
Yeah.
right? So we have to level set in that data before we can even talk about how you yourself scale your business. And there's only a few finite ways to scale a business, right? You can play with your pricing, right? So you can, and chances are, if you're a woman in America and you have a business, you are not charging enough money.
Yes.
That's the chance right now.
Yeah.
This is the truth. So you can raise your prices, you can increase the number of customers, you can increase your geography, so you can serve more locations. So if you're just in locally, you can spread out to the state, the region, whatever, right? Or you can add new products that are going to add revenue. So there's really like a finite list of things that you can do. So the
Yeah.
question becomes, once we present those things that you can do, those levers that I like to call that you can pull to scale a business, what's the most palatable to you? What's the quickest way? What's the cheapest way? So we make those decisions that way. And it really is a case by case basis. It's not the same for every business, even though it's
Yeah.
a finite list. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Why is that? When you said that about most women, you won't charge what you're actually worth. Why do you think we do that as women? Because I've had friends who want to start businesses and they're like, oh, I'm not going to come out too high. I'm just going to charge just this small amount and then I'll kind of grow. Where we see other people that come out and they'll just charge the rate is the rate. And that's
The
it. Like
rate and that look.
that's it.
So here's what I'm going to tell you. And people laugh at me all the time. I charge my sister.
No, you,
Look, yeah, no, no, no. If I look, you want me to do something for you, want me to consult you on something, I'm going to charge you. Yes. Look, and the rate is the rate.
the rate is,
The rate is the rate. So, but so I think for women, there's a couple of things at play. So I think there's I think there's a lack of confidence in our ability to get what our information or products are actually valued, right? So we kind of undervalue ourselves across the board, right? Not just in business, but I think there's that. I also think that women tend to want to help others.
Yeah.
And my motto is, think of this as you're on an airplane and they tell you to put your mask on before you put someone else's on, because you can't help anybody. If we're all struggling, how do I help you? I'm struggling. Where are we going to go? But if I put my mask on first, I can then come back and get you, right? So I can charge the value of my information or my product, and I can accumulate wealth. And then I have a better ability now to go back and do something else, whether it's give, volunteer, pull other people up, mentor, coach, whatever it is. And I can do that for free now because I've built myself up. And so, but women, we tend to want to help first, even at our own detriment. So I think that's part of it too.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's that lack of confidence, you know what I mean? I think in what we have, whatever product or service we're offering. And so we really have to build on that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. You lived in Canada, right?
So
you didn't live in Canada?
I live in Minnesota. It's basically Canada.
I said you live in Canada.
I live in Minnesota. It's basic. Look, depending on how this election goes, I may end up going to Canada.
We're praying. We are praying. That's why I wore my blue to go.
But so Minnesota is basically, we talk like Canadians up here.
Okay, good. Because I'm like, I don't know why I said that. I don't know where I got that from. We're just gonna move on past that.
No problem.
So for someone who wants to get more, to get financially in order with their business, what would be the first step you would tell them to take?
Understand where you stand, right? So understand what you know and what you don't know.
Yeah.
And because so much of the lack of acumen is, I don't even know what I don't know. If I don't know that this thing even is a thing, how do I learn about it? Yeah. So really the first step is kind of doing a really quick assessment that says, okay, here's where you stand from a financial management standpoint. And luckily, I happen to have a quiz that's a 10-question quiz that will help people understand that. On the Next Femme website. Yep. And so that would be my first step. And then going into the mindset, and then the actual kind of tactical pieces in terms of how to save and spend, and then how to earn more money would be my kind of 4-step thing.
Yeah. Do you find that when we go into the mindset piece, a lot of our mindset is really based around like values and morals that we grew up with, basically, right? And we're trying now we have to break that cycle of what we know. And I know it's hard.
It's super hard. So think about if you grew up in a household where all you heard was money doesn't grow on trees. Money doesn't grow on trees. What does that do? It's, first of all, money doesn't grow on trees is a scarcity mindset. So if you are always hearing that, it is almost impossible for you to come out of the other side with anything other than a scarcity mindset. When you have a scarcity mindset, you tend to take fewer risks. Yeah. Right. I mean, so just think about all the implications of that. And I'm glad you brought up the values piece, because one of the components of after you kind of do the mindset is understanding what your values are. You could probably question 10 people in your life and ask them, what are your core values? And most of them may not know what they are. Yeah. And so if we don't know who we are from a value standpoint, how do we spend and live in accordance to those values? One of the things that I tell people all the time, once you know what your values are, you now have boundaries. And a lot of people are not going to like that you have boundaries. Okay? Because when you have boundaries, you have the ability to say no in all different areas of your life. So we think of the Next Femme Financial program as a values-based program, meaning once you define what your values are, we now ask you to spend in accordance with that. If you say that your values are family experiences, and you then go off and spend $2,000 on a pair of shoes, you lying. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But the problem is I can't create a budget that's in alignment with my values if I don't know what they are. Yeah. I'm just going through life spending based on the next ad that comes up in my face, right? That's true. Right. Yeah, so that's impulsive buying. Yep.
That is too funny. Do you find when you do get people to try to stick to those budgets, is it hard for people to stick to those budgets? Because I know for me, it would probably be hard. I mean, I will really have to be disciplined to do it.
So the great thing about the budget is it's pretty flexible, meaning it's a
Okay.
50-30-20 budget. 50% goes towards your needs,
Mm-hmm.
30% goes towards your wants, and then 20% goes towards savings and investment. And
Yeah.
so within those categories, go wild, do whatever you want, right? So if you are budgeting 30% on your wants, and for your income,
Yeah.
that's $3,000 a month. That's $3,000 a month. You can spend however you want,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So you've got some flexibility. Where we really run into problems is in the initial creation of the budget, because we ask that you go back through a year's worth of history.
Yeah.
And when I tell you, like, there are tears, there's a
Yeah.
lot of shame, right? Because
Yes.
most of us spend and move out. Like, how often do you actually go back over your year of spending and look at everything that you bought?
I don't think I ever do it
Never.
really. I
No,
buy it and
no.
forget it. That's really kind of what it
Right.
is. Yeah.
Right, exactly. But when you are kind of forced to look back over your last year of spending, not only do you see the ups and downs as an entrepreneur, but you also see what you spent your money on.
Yeah.
And when I say that it's an emotional experience, it can be a shameful experience, even though it shouldn't be, right? There's a lot going on. So that's usually the hardest part. And then
Yeah.
once we get past that, we create a budget that's in line with your values and all of that stuff. You've got so much flexibility in there. It tends to not be that hard because we've already done all the mindset work. We've already done all this other stuff, right?
Yeah.
So,
You know what? That is so true. The whole the shame piece, because I felt when I got laid off, and like I said, because I felt like I didn't prepare myself for this, I felt ashamed. I really did. I felt
mhm.
ashamed to be like, yeah, I had this, because I had a top paying job. I had a high figure, 6-figure salary, seat at the
Yep,
table, right? House. And
yep,
you're just
mhm,
like, I felt so ashamed for people to see that, well, girl, you ain't had no money really saved. And I'm like, oh my God, it was very, very
yeah,
shameful. I still think I
yeah,
feel that shame, even
mhm,
now, to
mhm,
be
mhm.
honest with you, simply
Yeah,
because
yep.
I'm trying to now kind of rebuild and do something different. And, so I understand that piece too. So what's next? What's next for you? What's next for the business? What project are you working on that got you excited right now?
Yes, right now I am working to officially launch Next Femme Financial.
Mm-hmm.
So at next-femme, FEMME.com, that is the 10-step, three-phase program that takes you from not understanding your personal finances to personal financial mastery, earning more money, saving more money, and spending money in alignment with your values. So that's the whole program. And it's great because it is for women entrepreneurs. So you're in this kind of cohort of women all doing and thinking about the same things. We're
Yes,
talking about money. We are removing emotion and shame from the topic. We're going to have book clubs. You're going to have peer coaches. You'll have opportunities to do group coaching with me or one-on-one coaching with me, depending
that's
on the
gonna be
level
good.
that you
Yeah,
buy into. So it's launching in December, and that's what I'm super excited about. So the
that's gonna be
reception,
such a great thing. Yeah.
thank you. I'm already doing it in person now, and so
Mm-hmm.
now it's kind of bringing that into an online forum. So yeah.
That's going to be a really good supportive community right there, in a community that's kind of going to hold you responsible to hit
Mm-hmm.
those financial goals. So I think that's so great. And to be able to start something like that going into the new year to really set the expectation for yourself for 2025. So that works. I'm going to bring the show to a close, but is there one piece of advice that you wish you received early on in your career that you felt could have helped you?
Yeah, know thyself. Know, like, really be self-aware. And I think that that's
Yeah.
something that I work on still to this day. Just being self-aware. I think it saves you time. It saves you energy. It directs you in the right ways. And let me give you a really great example. So
Yeah.
I have. So here in the Twin Cities, I work with entrepreneurs everywhere, and I'm in and out of a lot of different kind of groups and that kind of stuff. And someone came to me and they had this beautiful idea of starting a school in a certain neighborhood in the Twin Cities. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was a great idea. And they asked me if I wanted to be involved. Now, because I thought it was a great idea, most people would assume that I would say, yes, of course. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's not my calling. That's not me. That's not who I am. It's not my personal mission. It's not my personal purpose. But because I knew that, because I knew myself, I was able to say, no, I think it's great. I think you're going to be super successful. Let me put you in contact with 5 other people who would be great with that.
Yeah.
But it's not me.
Yeah.
And again, I said no. And then there's going to be situations where you're going to say no because you know yourself and people aren't going to like it. But when you get values and boundaries, it is the most free I have ever been. When I finally knew myself, that's when I became free. So
that is so good. You're right. Knowing yourself first and being able to know that every opportunity doesn't have to be for you is a strength. You know what I mean? It's definitely a strength, and it shows that you are definitely in tune with who you are, and you're just like, listen, that's just not my ministry.
Yes, right. And as a result, I now have reserved time to do what is my
Exactly.
thing. Right?
Exactly. This has been really good. I'm so glad we had a chance to talk.
Me
I'm
too.
so sorry I brought up the whole real estate thing.
I know.
Thought it was a part of it.
I'm a real estate agent in Canada, I guess, right?
I don't know where I get the Canada from.
Right. Look, Minnesota, Canada's right there.
I know. I've been to Minnesota too.
Yep.
Juana, thank you so much again for being on the podcast. All right, guys, I am Shaunie Sanders. This is the Girl Techno Podcast, and I will talk to you next time.